Okay, so next, Anne Jan, also widely known as the Jinx from Amsterdam Hackerspace, will talk about QtPass and the project which started as a short two-day project and grew into something very exciting indeed.
Thank you. Now to see how this remote works. Probably doesn't. Well, spacebar works. My name is Anne-Jan Brouwer. I'm a developer and hacker. I work at a company called No Protocol, and I founded or co-founded one Amsterdam hacker collective called iHack. And I started QtPass, which currently is at version 1.1.6. And we're working on a 1.2 release, but QtPass is pretty interesting compared to PassBolt. We started around the same time. We have 1/10 of the developers or contributors, 1/10 of the commits of PassBolt, but yeah, that's pretty understandable since it's in C++ instead of PHP. But let's start at the beginning. I was working at a full-service company that had lots of clients, different projects, and many secrets per project to share and to use internally, which was a big problem because how do you keep those things? Well, in their case, a big Samba share with per project, a lot of files, a lot of folders, and a passwords.txt file. That's not a way to do it, and especially if you have external people working and have customers coming to your office, connecting to the Wi-Fi, it was a public share. So yeah, we needed something else. We needed a way to store passwords securely, to share with coworkers, with external people, preferably open standards, preferably open source, and it has to be easy to use. So we got someone working on a project to find that in our company, and he found it in Pass, the standard Unix password manager, which is found at passwordstore.org. It's a collection of bash scripts, basically. It uses OpenGPG, it uses Git, optionally. It uses tree to display a list of passwords, and it uses pwgen for password generation, optionally. This is what it looks like, or might look like, if you have some tests going on. It was really nice. The developers all loved it instantly. It's very easy to use. It's automatable. You can just do tab completion on the tree structure. It directly feels right. You can also use token-based authentication with the GPG, so YubiKey or something. Which you can then take from a person when he leaves the company. So that's an added layer of safety in there. But then we ran into a problem, management. Managers really don't like the command line. And for no good reason, not all managers, of course, but with no good reason. So yeah, we had to find a solution to get management team on board. And that's why I thought, well, I know some Qt. Let's whip up a simple Qt GUI application, tree view, place for showing the contents of the password file, update button to do a git pull, and well, that's very doable. So yeah, I wrote that proof of concept in 2 nights, waiting for night buses in Amsterdam. Laptop keeping me warm was pretty nice. And it just uses Pass in the backend and Git. It was a simple wrapper written in Qt. It was read-only. I put it on GitHub and did a small hackathon with a couple of friends to add translations. And then I sent a mail to the passwordstore.org mailing list on August 1st, 2014, with a note to notify them, yeah, well, I've written this simple read-only GUI thing. Have a look at it if you find it interesting. And well, that was it a bit. Oh yeah, I added native mode, so you don't need Pass. For example, on Windows, you can't run bash scripts properly. But you can use Git and GPG, and so I added a native mode. Put it on GitHub, which by then didn't look as busy as now. But I thought, well, that's about it. Just made a nice thing. That's it. But then all of a sudden, Easter 2015, I got a lot of pull requests from Reimer Duffinger, who later met in Amsterdam for a beer. And he added and editing of passwords in those pull requests. He added basic user management because password store, pass, in the file tree, you can add a .gpg ID file in which you list the people for whom it should be encrypted to. And that is pretty obtuse. It's just a dot file in a dot folder, and it has only the hashes or emails of the people's GPG IDs. So it's a bit obtuse. He made very basic user management to make it simple, and added fixes for the Windows build, that it would actually build on Windows. This is what the user management looked like after I started hacking on it a bit. Added the search feature and the color coding system to see which keys are usable. And I really got enthusiastic again about developing on it because of, some other people just joining in and started coding. So we added many extra options. This is from version 1.0. And then August 2015, August 1st, exactly a year later, I decided, let's have a release party. Because why not? Everybody should do that. If you have an open source project and you don't have a 1.0 release yet, just pick an arbitrary date, pick an arbitrary goal. Have a release party. So in Amsterdam, thank you. We did this in Amsterdam in Café Batavia 1920, which is straight across from Central Station. Did a little translation hackathon. I told everybody I'd buy them a beer if they would translate it to their language. So we got Hungarian, simplified Chinese. We also did a soldering workshop. It was a very nice festive day. And we had a lot of beers, of course. So then QtPass looked like this, which was a lot more interesting. We added different profiles, so you can use different password stores on your system, a private one, a company one, whatever. And we added something else, which you might have seen here, which is the splash screen, which has very clearly stating, please report any issues you might have with this software. And that really helps, because every time you start it, you get this notification, and you think, something is broken, something sucks. It takes away all the boundaries for someone to just click the issues link, go to the GitHub, and add a new issue to the tree. So 5 days later, August 5th, I get a message. I'm waiting for the ferry in Amsterdam. I get a message. I looked into it, and I would like to hide the contents. We only had a hide password feature at that point. So I'm looking at it, and that's interesting. Someone who has done C++ in the past would like to give it a shot. So I'm standing there waiting for my ferry to come, step on the ferry, and write a very simple summary of where to look, what to add, what to do. And the next day, I get a pull request with the feature. I mean, that makes you enthusiastic about doing more and more, adding more stuff. So then I thought, what else would be nice? Password store, Pass, uses a preferred system of naming fields, which is just colon separated, very simple. It's also used by the Firefox plugin, I think, for login name and password and that kind of. Well, password is always the first line. So for login, URL, that kind of stuff. So I added that feature, which was pretty nice. But adding all those features has a downside. It gets clunky and cluttery. So I thought I need to do something with that. And looked into stuff. So I set up Travis to do Linux and Windows and OS X builds. And also pushing to Coverity, which is a static code analysis site for open source projects. It's free to use, up to a certain amount of times a day. I can't exactly remember. But static code analysis really helps. It finds bugs before they become bugs, uninitialized variables, that kind of stuff. And if you just run it, it's always there. You don't have to think about it. So the Travis file. If anybody hasn't done Travis yet and is doing something with C, C++, or any other language actually, please set it up. It's very simple. It's a service that's free for open source projects, etc. And this is a bit simplified. I took out some of the crap. But it just runs the Qt make. And it notifies on success only if there's a change. Or on failure always. So whenever there's something that doesn't compile on either Linux or OS X in either GCC or Clang, so 4 builds, I get a notification on both IRC and mail. But yeah, then Windows. Qt is very nice in that it's completely cross-platform. And I wanted to add, next to the OS X build, which were now being done by Travis, by the way, I wanted to do Windows builds. So how do I do that? I download a VM from modern.ie because I don't own any Windows computers. I set up Qt Creator, the ISS install creator, Studio, etc. Have to do that every month because the VM license expires. It's really obnoxious. Luckily, I found that there's also AppVeyor, which is exactly the same as Travis, only for Windows. Unfortunately, the syntax is a bit more clunky because Windows. But actually, every build I get, an installer is made with the ISCC, the installer builder. And whenever I do a tagged release, it's automatically uploaded to GitHub, so I don't have to touch Windows VMs anymore. Happy, happy. If you need any help with this kind of setup with your own project, feel free to contact me. No worries there. So yeah, we got more and more people contributing, doing a lot of UX changes, making it nicer, and starting to use iconography. We had a long discussion on GitHub issue queue about this. Freedesktop.org has a nice system of setting up icons for stuff, which is standardized and works on everything. Unfortunately, not on Mac OS or Windows, so I changed to SVGs for that. But yeah, adding a lot of new features, for example, double click to edit, that kind of stuff. And we thought, yeah, time for another release, 1.1, which looks on a dark KDE theme, looks like this. On GNOME, looks like this. So it takes on your standard preferred setup of look and feel. Really nice. Currently, we're working on a new release, a new big release, the 1.2 release. Oh, what did I push? Working on a 1.2 release. Yeah. We have currently 5 active contributors who are doing near weekly commits and pull requests. We're doing a lot of refactoring and finally doing unit tests, although I have to admit I only added 1 unit test, which is for a static helper function to always add a slash to a path. But there is now a possibility to run unit tests, which are also run by Travis, etc. And again, we're doing a lot of UI and UX changes. So this is what the current master version of QtPass looks like. We added copying buttons for the different fields and a lot more stuff. Also, you can now do ASCII art, hence the indentation in your password files, always nice. We're thinking about adding a possibility of doing binary attachments, but not standardized on how yet. Because it's running on GPG behind the scenes, that shouldn't be a problem. GPG can do binary attachments, no problem. That was about it. Any questions?
Someone has a question? No question? We have a question, yeah.
Hello. I see that you are saving passwords, but only one password, can you save, or is it planned to have multiple fields? For example, a comment, what password is it? Or maybe a login, a password, another thing?
The passwords currently have that option. That's the field down below, where it currently says testing indentation and more indentation. In this example, that's a completely free-form field where you can add whatever comments you'd like. Also, you can, in the configuration, set the fields you would like. For example, in this case, password, login, URL, test. But you can also click a button that allows any colon-separated key-value pair to be a field like that with a copy button.
Okay, and
does that help?
It helps, yes. And now, will you have some kind of template? For example, I want to add I don't know what, a credit card number. It has a fixed level of fields.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but that sounds like an interesting feature. Yeah, that should be doable. One thing else I forgot, in the upcoming 1.2 release, there's also dragging and dropping of files and folders. And because you can set for every folder to whom it should be encrypted, for whom it should be decryptable, everything gets re-encrypted as soon as you do a drag and drop operation, which might pop up your GPG passphrase or something, which is a bit interesting. Adding passwords doesn't require any keys, because GPG encrypting to someone, to a public key, is a non-privileged operation, but decrypting, you get asked for your GPG decryption key unless you have no password passphrase on your GPG.
And we have a last question at the end.
Hello. I was asking if there is something to ease the creation of GPG keys for people that don't, for managers and people that are not, that don't like GPG.
QtPass does have a nice key generator. If you start it up and you don't have a private key in your user, or there's no private key available to GPG, you get presented with a two-field option for name and email address, and a checkbox to enable complete editing of the GPG key generation file. But, well, we made it a simple two-step process. For example, take a clean Windows machine, install QtPass. First thing it pops up is a link to the Win GPG for Win, something like that. For you to download GPG, as soon as you've done that, you get presented with a two-field option, name and email, and your key is generated, you can get going. And if you set up Outlook or, for example, macOS Mail with GPG tools, you automatically get the added benefit of sending encrypted emails, or at least signed. And that's, in our company, when we started with QtPass, that was a nice added bonus, because all of a sudden, all the managers started sending encrypted emails. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your talk. Let's applaud him.